This is a Rogue Media Network podcast.
Swimmers here. Swimmers here. Swimmers here. The Adult Swim Podcast. Dilly dally diddle all day.
Oh, dang it. Really mopped myself into a corner this time. Oh, well, a couple of little footprints won't matter. It really bugged my head.
Bagboy, yeah. Bitty Bagboy.
Jocelyn Van Ord, Pablo Myers, Steve Brule,
Bang, oh, Bagboy, bang.
Carolyn Crabbit, or Carol Crabbit,
What's in the bag?
Brown, the guy who cuts meat, Jake Elliott,
Shout out to the meat cutters.
Scott Clam, the Clam Man, Terry Bruges Hiplo, and David Liebehart as Dog,
Yo.
developed by Pablo Myers. So, welcome to Swimmer's Ear.
Welcome
Number
to
one.
Swimmers Here.
Swimmer's Ear. All right,
Swimmers
today we're
Ear.
talking about Bagboy.
Bagboy.
Bagboy is a pretty deep pull from the Tim and Eric Awesome Show, Great Job universe.
Yeah, which if those of you that have never heard of Bagboy,
Bagboy.
I guarantee you have seen the John C. Reilly memes that this is where they come from.
Yeah. There's a lot of them from this.
Yeah, for sure.
This is basically it's a special that was made by Absolutely
Yeah, it's like a
Productions.
spoof special.
Yeah.
It's like a spoof pilot for a sitcom.
But it was written by Tim Heidecker, Eric Wireham, and John C. Reilly.
Comedic geniuses.
Yeah, it's a fictional sitcom pilot. It's in that universe. It was supposed to be written by Dr. Steve Brule.
Yeah.
This is after Dr. Steve Brule's Check It Out had already been out. So this is made like a late 80s, early 90s sitcom. Lots of laugh tracks.
Lots of laugh tracks.
Lots of really stupid jokes and really stupid things.
Which I noticed that about some of the sitcoms that are coming out now is that there's not as many laugh tracks as there used to be.
I think they've calmed it down just a little bit. Now, through about the first half of this thing, Steve Brule never gets a laugh. Like everybody gets a laugh from the laugh track except for him.
There was something I was reading about laugh tracks too, where some of the
Yeah.
laugh tracks that they were using in the 90s were the same laugh tracks that they had recorded in like the 60s.
Oh, I don't doubt
They
that.
were using
Yeah.
like a bank of laugh tracks that were used for, over like 30 years of TV, 40 years of TV.
So the idea here is that this thing was developed by Pablo Myers, who owns
Yep.
the grocery store.
Yeah.
Again, this is all in that fictional world.
Fiction.
Directed, story, and teleplay by Steve Brule. If you know anything about Steve Brule, he's an idiot.
Yeah, I've never heard of Steve Brule at all before.
And then it says executive produced by Jan and Wayne Schuyler. They are the Action 5 married news team, if you know anything about that.
No, I don't, but we'll learn.
We'll
Definitely learn. Is that an
that's-
Adult Swim thing?
It's Tim and Eric. Yeah,
Oh, it's a Tim and Eric
they are
thing,
the married news team. And then a very special guest starring name of Mickey Dolenz of Monkeys. That is very much in the way that Steve Brule talks in name of, and then he says his name. So this opens up with Pablo Myers and his family around a Christmas tree telling us this is a special presentation that Steve Brule told him it would be great. He doesn't give a crap whether his kids like it, his mother likes it, anybody likes it. He's going to show it anyway.
Yeah, he's doing what he wants.
Yeah, this is for Myers Superfoods. So it starts off with Steve as a bag boy in a Pablo Superfoods commercial, and or Myers Superfood commercial. and it's like a little Piggly Wiggly or a
Yeah, it's a like a little
IGA
grocery.
or whatever. Yeah, a little hometown grocery store, but it's awful. So some of the cans and some of the signs that you see in this are there's a big can of smelly beans. There's a can of snout and tails,
Ooh.
oiled hooves.
Would that be Vienna sausages? The snout and
know,
tails?
I
Is
guess.
it like a special packaging?
Creamed horse meat. Pork cubes are on sale for 99 cents a pound.
Well, see, pork cubes you can work with.
Pork cubes. White food medley in size medium.
Oh, so it's just a random assortment of white colored foods.
Puddle fish in a can.
Ew.
And then the only one that makes any sense, corned beef hash,
Okay.
which I don't mind some corned beef hash.
I think that was. I think they were shitting on corned beef hash with adding all that
Maybe
in
a
there.
little bit.
I think they
yeah.
were. Yeah.
Yeah. So we see Steve Brule mopping. He mops himself into a corner. He says, "Oh well, never the few little footprints never hurt." He goes over. He slips. He falls. He vomits. He knocks down the cans. I mean, and everybody laughs because Steve Brule has hurt himself.
Yeah.
It goes on to give us the credits, which I kind of read through as we went through that. And the idea is that he is a grown man working as a bag boy in a grocery store. He's over there kind of putting some produce up, and Mickey Dolenz comes in.
Mickey.
Do you know him?
Dolenz. No, I don't.
So he was one of the Monkees,
Okay.
the band the Monkees.
But isn't that a fictional band that they just made for
it
a
was
TV
a
show?
made up band for the TV show, but they toured forever.
Yeah, but were the names of each individual person fictional names?
I don't think so. I think Mickey Dolenz is his real
This is
name.
his actual name.
Yeah.
Okay.
He asks about where the bananas are because
The monkeys. Hey,
And he goes,
hey, we're the monkeys.
What are you, a
Yeah.
dang monkey? And so he says, well, yes, I am. And then he sends him over. And the funniest thing to me throughout this is how Steve Brule basically directs them, and you hear him whisper to them or whatever. He goes, okay, that's enough. And then he walks off and he goes, okay, that was the part with Mickey Dolenz. And then it goes on to the next thing. So the entire thing here is that there's a pretty girl that works as a cashier. Her name is Daisy, and Steve Brule has like a big crush on her. He wants to date her. He tries to ask her out. She's there checking out stuff. Up comes one of the super weird people. He is the big boy with the butter. He's Doug Presspeed, the big boy with the butter. And he comes up and talks to Daisy. She says, okay, Doug, that's 4 of paper and 2 of coin, which if you know anything about Brule, that's pretty much the way he speaks. And so this whole thing's supposed to be written by him. He comes up and tells Daisy he has 2 tickets to the dumpster dive show, which they never said what it was, but he says it features him. Steve offers him his bags, and he's like, here, give it to me, bag boy. And then the funny thing about Doug is he goes off and he never leaves the store. He just stands there and stares at him the whole time.
Yeah, real awkward, like, yeah.
So up comes Chip. Chip is the hunk that is, as Steve calls him, that works in the store. And he tells Daisy that he's got 2 tickets for the Twisted Chains concert, at which the audience all goes, ooh. Yeah, like it's a big
Which
deal.
I guess the Twisted Chains would be
I don't know,
Alice in
man.
Chains and the Twisted Sisters
I
tribute
guess,
band.
man.
Wouldn't
have
that be
no
a
idea.
crazy combination, though?
Yeah. Oh,
Twisted Sisters, Alice in Chains.
Oh, yeah.
Fusion band.
Yeah, I don't like
What would
that
that
at all.
sound like?
I would sound
You know what it would sound like?
this.
Really depressing hair metal. Like the hair metal is usually like bubbly. Like to me, it's like the K-pop of the '80s is hair metal. So I feel like it would be bubbly, but depressing.
Very well could be.
Kind of like diarrhea, bubbly and depressing. Yeah.
Mr. Pablo Myers calls all the employees to his office for emergency meeting. He tells them how there's shoplifters and he's got to catch them. And the first one to capture a shoplifter gets 10 free cans of food.
Ooh.
And he's not talking about the dented cans. These are all free cans.
Free cans.
Yeah.
It reminds me of that scene in Big Daddy where he's slamming the cans on the ground. Microsoft went down 3 points. Yeah, that's such a clever joke.
Daisy or Brule asks Daisy out for ice cream and fumbles over his words and says he's going to marry her at some point, and that's when this kid comes up and says he's got the twisted chains thing. So they're going to be on the lookout for shoplifters now. So, in any good sitcom, it just it goes from one scene to the next scene with no real explanation. And you see Brule over there. He is stalking Mrs. Livingstone, who is a haughty, rich lady, or supposedly.
Yeah.
She says
Lush.
she doesn't want any of that crap because she wouldn't feed it to her slaves, which is a little rough. And then he does see.
Remember, I think that's where a lot of people get confused is that economically, it was never about race.
Sure.
It was about free labor at the end of the day.
So he sees Mrs. Livingstone. He says something to her. She says, get out of here, you piece of crap. So he goes over to the CCTV feed to watch the shoppers, to look for shoplifters. That's where he sees his mother, sees his old, very tiny mother. And he thinks she's shoving a turkey under her skirt.
Yeah.
He comes out after her. Mama, how you steal a turkey? And she says, no, I brought you a brown bag lunch. And she pulls it out from under her dress, and then
smuggling meat.
She says, I brought you a nice hair pie sandwich with extra frosting.
Did I tell you about that? One time when I was coming back from England.
Yeah. You had a hair pie sandwich?
No, not a hair pie sandwich, but I've had hair pie. But there was apparently meat is a common smuggled item by people coming into the country. And when I went to England, I went with one suitcase, but I came back with two because when I went over there, I ended up with so much crap to come back with that I had to get a second suitcase to come back. And it was odd to them that I checked one, and then so they pulled me to the side. And already having a British passport with this accent, they think I'm some like secret agent or something because they always pull me to the side. But he dug through all of my bag, and at the end or before he dug through my bag, was there anything in there that might be against the rules, contraband, whatever? And I was like, well, not that I'm aware of. I said, there's some bottles of whiskey in there or whatever. And he's like, well, we have a really big problem with Asians smuggling meat into the country. And I'm like, okay, what does that have to do with me? I don't fit your demographic that you're talking about here. I'm not an Asian man. But he was like, well, they're smuggling meat in from the UK. It's a big Asian smuggling ring of meat.
Wow.
And it was there in Dublin, matter of fact, because before you enter the country, you could already enter the country by port of entry in Dublin into the United States. So when you land, you don't have to go through customs. You just do it right. You do it in the country you're in. And then once you're stateside, you can just get off the airplane. And that's what he did, man. He said I was smuggling meat. I was like, there's no meat in there.
That's insane.
Yeah, I thought it was. It's pretty nuts.
Okay, so we
don't get caught smuggling meat.
Don't get caught smuggling meat. Yeah, or hair pie sandwiches with extra frosting. He sees Daisy's little brother shoplift a candy bar. He doesn't know it's Daisy's little brother yet until he confronts him. By the way, he's over in the corner talking to his imaginary friend,
he's
Dog.
just rattling his head off.
Yeah, well, it's Dog, his imaginary friend.
That's a crazy imaginary friend name.
Played by David Lieberhart.
Did you ever have an imaginary friend?
No. David Lieberhart was he's featured big on Tim and Eric, always as a ventriloquist.
You really didn't have an imaginary friend?
No.
Well, because I know you were an only child or whatever. So usually from friends that I have that were only children, they used an imaginary friend to fill the void of not having another child there with them.
I always just made stuff. Like
I had siblings and I had a damn imaginary friend.
I would go up and down the street and like pick stuff out of people's garbage and build stuff out of it.
His name was Tommy. What
really?
He's up to these days?
Tommy.
Yeah, I wonder what he's up to these days.
He died in Vietnam. Okay, so he sees this little kid. He goes up and confronts him and finds out that it's Daisy's little brother. He goes, "Oh, that's your little brother, baby boy." And then he is really worried because Myers appoints him to work the night shift so he can watch out for shoplifters. Steve is worried about horse ghosts, and that becomes a problem. He stays at night and starts looking through the aisles. Terry, the security guard, very, very old guy who's asleep all the time. He goes over and he plays with Terry's gun and spins it around and it's just like playing a big shot. And then he hears a horse ghost. And
A horse ghost.
the gun goes off and he shoots a bunch of cans.
That was a bad joke.
He puts up the gun and then he goes off to snack on some horse meat he just shot.
Oh, okay.
So horse meat in a can. He's thinking about how he's going to get to Charlie, and he's struggling over it because he wants to date Daisy, but he knows that her brother is the one who's stealing the stuff. And then he hears a weird sound coming from Brown, who is the butcher. He goes in there and he finds Charlie tied to a piece of meat. And he asks Brown about it. He goes, why? You don't need to punish him for all this. He goes, no, I'm only doing it for the joy of killing.
Yeah, the joy.
So that's nice.
Kind of like Dale in the Roaches.
That's right. He kind of bargains with Brown and ends up telling him he'll give him 25 cans of Myers food if he lets Charlie go. He does.
It's a deal.
Yeah, it's great. He does let him go, but not before they talk about how sweet the meat would be. And remember, we're talking about cutting up a child and eating his meat.
Yeah, we're talking about eating a child here.
For
the adrenochrome.
So he lets the kid go. The kid goes out and gets on his bike. Again, middle of the night. Brule tells Charlie not to steal, so he grows up to be a cool guy, not a dumb hunk like Chip. And as he lashes out on Chip, Charlie offers that if he lets him go, he's going to put in a good word with his sister. So he agrees to it. In the morning, when Steve goes to Myers and tells him he didn't catch anybody, Myers gives him 10 cans anyway. And the other guy says, I'm not sure how these bullet holes got in it. And so he has a big daydream about dating Daisy and things like that. Basically, it comes down to the fact that he got 10 free cans and he still owes a serial killer 15 cans, basically, is what that is.
Yeah.
So this whole thing is basically a commercial for Pablo Myers' horse meat and different foods. There is an actual commercial in the middle of it for canned whipped bacon from Pablo Myers.
Whipped?
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're looking at John C. Reilly as Steve Brule. He's the bagger for Myers Superfoods. Danny Allen as Brown, the butcher, the killer. Robert Axelrod as Terry Bruges Hiplo. Mickey Dolenz as himself, of course. Jake Elliott as Chip. Doug Foster as Doug Prishpeed. Carol Kraft as Carol Crabbit as Mrs. Livingstone. David Liebehart as Dog. He's a puppet and Steve's imaginary friend. Jaden Mark as a Charlie, Daisy's little brother. Nancy Munoz as Doris Pringlebrule, Steve's mother, the little tiny lady. Pablo Pumphrey as Pablo Myers, owner and manager of Myers Superfoods. Scott Stewart as Scott Clam. Scott Clam was also featured on Tim and Eric as the Clam Man.
Oh, okay. I need to watch more of the Tim and Eric show. It's been a long time.
Jocelyn Van Orden as Daisy. Ron Don Volante as himself. And then Diego Alexander as Myers' son. That one is uncredited. At the point when at the end of this thing, Steve gives us a life lesson. He says, don't be a dunce, never play with guns, for your health.
For your health.
And the for your health part is part of his show, that he had, Dr. Steve Brule, For Your Health. And
a really tasteless joke. It seems that the Russians are now outsourcing school shootings or the Americans are now outsourcing it to the Russians. Rather, they had that massive theater shooting.
That was a big one.
Crazy,
At the end, the part that I really enjoyed is when he telepathically talks to Charlie about putting in a good word for him.
Yeah.
And then says, "Well, if not Daisy, give me a talk good to your mom."
I just like John C. Reilly as that character. That's one of the funniest John C. Reilly bits. That character for sure.
Stupid, silly stuff. Yeah, from this, we got a 4th season of Check It Out, which that's great. And he said he'd keep doing it as long as people want it. It appeared or premiered on Adult Swim February 21st, 2015. There was a short shown on the Tim and Eric tour. I don't know if I ever told you, but I went to one of those.
Was it good? Was it fun?
It was ridiculously stupid.
Yeah, I bet it was.
But it was bootlegged off there, and then it ended up on the AV Club, Verge, YouTube, all
they
that
put it
stuff.
Everywhere, yeah.
Dan Caffrey of the AV Club gave it an A-. and he said it was not quite as nightmarish as Heidecker and Wareheim's other works, but it would attract comparisons to the horror comedy short Too Many Cooks, which we have not covered yet, but we will.
haven't touched that one yet.
He called it a perfect mixture of those who are self-aware and those who are sincere.
Yeah.
And that is Tim and Eric's deal. Like
And
they
that is it, yeah.
they always got like these regular people on there and had them play these ridiculous characters. It is really, really stupid.
Yeah, I like that kind of stuff.
But like,
It's great. It was good comedy.
they got a review from Den of Geek. They got a review from Vanity Fair. They got a review. I mean, all of this crap, you know, all this reviews for all this stuff for something that is very, very, very stupid. But it's supposed to be very
But
stupid.
that's the whole intent. Yeah, it's supposed to be nonsensical.
So that is about it. That
that's
is
it.
Bagboy. Go watch it. Enjoy yourself a nice hair pie sandwich with extra frosting, and beware of those horse ghosts.
And by the time you listen to this, NASCAR will have completed their Circuit of the Americas race road course at Austin, Texas.
That makes total sense.
Yeah, it makes total sense. That's I told you I've been on a NASCAR kick, man. I don't know why. I've been on a NASCAR kick. I've watched every race this season so far for all 3 series.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know why. I don't know. It's just there's been some really good races. They had the one at Bristol last week, and that's a concrete track.
Yeah.
And there was something wrong with the track and the tires, and they were shredding tires faster than they were shredding tires so fast they didn't have enough tires to finish the race. So NASCAR had to interject, change the rules mid-race to allow Goodyear to distribute more tires throughout all the races.
Holy crap.
To give them another couple sets of tires.
That's
because they
insane.
were burning through them so fast. So you had like a lot of like tire cautions for tires being burnt out and stuff like that. But they didn't calculate properly how many tires they would need. And they weren't expecting them to shred as fast as they were. But I don't know. It was pretty interesting. A lot of diehard NASCAR fans don't like the new racing because it's more about how entertaining can we make it, because they do it in 3 stages now.
Sure.
So instead of the race being spread out through the whole race, they have stage 1 and it forces the pack back together. So they have 3 stages, and each reset people are fighting to win the stage, because if you win the stage, you get more points. If you win the whole race, you get more points. So if you win each stage and win the whole race, then you get a fuck ton of like race points for it to go towards your championship thing. And I don't know. It's just been real. I think it's interesting. I like it so far.
What other show in the world can you get both Bagboy, Tim and Eric, and NASCAR news?
Probably not very
There's
many.
not a lot.
Probably not a lot of them.
Yeah.
And I appreciate everybody watching. We've noticed the numbers slowly moving on up. We appreciate everybody checking us out. If you followed us from Bois, we appreciate you guys doubly. And if you found us organically, we appreciate you a lot too. And would like it if you would email us something, say hey to us, interact with us.
Do that.
You could find us at Funky Ear Podcast at gmail.com if you want to send an email, and it's Funky Ear Podcast on Instagram and Twitter. That's the only social medias that I'm creating for it. But you can find us out there, and you could find today's NASCAR scanner audio on NASCAR.com/scanner.
Fantastic. All right. Good deal. Hey, as the credits roll, we see Chip get in trouble, and Mr. Meyer says he's going to spank his butt red.
Ooh.
And then takes him off, and we hear this.
Chip, now you're going to get in trouble. Even hunks can't be late. Your bottom's going to be cherry red. Hey, kid. Don't be late. Respect your elders. Don't be a turkey for your health.
That's it.
There we go.
Bye. You can find Swimmer's Ear anywhere you get your podcasts or at roguemedianetwork.com.
Don't forget to take your Claradrill.
See our ad in Tables and Chairs magazine. This has been a Rogue Media Network production. ich darf grow and eating good was